Cool.
Okay. I got my cap on.
Yep. Classic. You gotta hide that hair, you know.
Hey, my hair is great. I actually got a haircut. I feel bad that I'm wearing a cap.
Yeah, your wife does all this work to make your hair look nice.
Actually, though.
And then you just wear a hat.
Yep.
Terrible.
It's just a habit.
Well, we're basically into the episode already, so why not?
Yeah, let's just do this thing.
Let's roll into it. So this
Can
is...
I just go like this? Go back. Hey, Lucas. Because you always do that to me.
Yeah. No, we just had a nice, what do you call that? Natural episode.
I like that.
Natural start.
We'll just leave it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've currently started the video. I mean, the recording.
Episode. Yeah, so. All right, folks. Well, this is our feedback episode. I believe it's episode 18. And we want to talk to you a bit just about the concept of feedback episodes. We've kind of done these since the beginning. And they've been really useful, especially on episodes that have been more controversial or whatnot. And it allows you guys to send us feedback and to keep us accountable. So we're not saying we're not going to ever do feedback episodes.
We should not be held accountable.
And we're not saying we shouldn't be held accountable. We 100% welcome your feedback and your criticism and everything else.
Well, I think that was part of it. So we were chatting about it, and I guess some of our recent episodes have just been so informative. I mean, our guests have been great, so there hasn't been a ton of controversial content or anything, but we wanted to be challenged more by our audience as well as the guests that,
people. Yeah, you guys are so nice now. You just keep saying good job, and you don't give us any hard questions for the feedback episodes.
Other than we just don't know how to make a podcast, but I mean, that was evident from the beginning. And
well, we need Tim here for the technical help, so
that's it.
We got him next time. But yeah, so we're going to be doing more interview episodes, basically, is what it amounts to. So
yeah, and I think that's kind of what we were aiming for all along, was to kind of increase the frequency of those, because that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole thing.
Totally. And, you guys are busy when you tune in, like every time. We appreciate it. And we want to provide value for you when you're listening to this. So we feel that if the feedback episodes are kind of, we're just talking and not being terribly informative or interesting or inspiring, then they're not that valuable. So we want to do more interview stuff and talk to, interesting people who have cool things to say.
So possibly we'll do interview, we'll do a couple interviews and then maybe do a feedback that kind of combines the two of them, or
every
3 of them, or whatever.
6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. I'll do feedback, kind of a grab bag episode. We might start calling them that.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
I liked it.
I just use that word right now, so we'll see where it goes. People latch onto it, but that's the plan. And yeah, every 2 weeks we'll have something new for you. So that's our commitment.
Yeah,
hopefully we can
keep
live
that
up
going.
to it. So, and
then we were talking about this. We didn't mention this or talk about this right before we went on, but we were talking about dropping it on Mondays instead of on Monday.
Oh yeah, Mondays. We did talk about this a bit. Yeah, instead of Saturdays. So again, if you guys want to send us some feedback, when do you listen to the podcast and when do you like to listen?
It seems like most people don't listen on Well, there's a larger portion who listen on the Saturday when we drop it, then on the Sunday, and then it kicks back up on the Monday. Yeah, and so we thought
Monday morning or Sunday night, even if we drop it, you can download it and then for your drive to work, you got it all queued up. Whatever makes more sense. So maybe we'll do an Instagram poll on it. So let us know if anybody's watching.
Otherwise, we'll probably just do it whenever we're not lazy enough to get it out.
Yeah. So
I think I'm up for editing, so it'll be like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah. Whenever Tyler feels like it, whenever his kids stop crying.
That's it.
Yeah. Cool stuff. But okay, so that's kind of the plans for the future in terms of episode format and what we'll be doing.
Yep.
But we can get a bit into our last episode, kind of reviewing that a bit.
Yeah. Scott was awesome.
That was fantastic.
Been a lot of fun.
Yeah, he blew it out of the park, man. Hit it out of the park. It was the actual expression there, but
yeah.
Right. I always catch myself making the mistakes, so they're not as bad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I can't point them out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair enough. No, Scott came with like a bunch of notes. Actually, Rhonda did too the time before that.
Yeah, we should not sell her short. She did awesome. As well.
She did awesome. But that was like. We've had some guests who come with notes prepared on what they want to talk about.
Yep.
And then some who just show up and all right,
freewheel it, and it goes amazing too.
All right, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Scott had he knew what he wanted to say, and which was awesome because he definitely taught us a few things. So
yeah, for his young age and whatnot, I say as the youngest person on the podcast, but yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it didn't even cross my mind that he's younger than me.
It's true.
During the whole thing, and then after I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Such poise.
But yeah, no, it was
to get into the meat and potatoes, as it were. I thought the model that they have at Word Indeed in terms of enterprise and aid, helping people out, and then building up the community through the local partnerships.
Yeah,
it's just a fantastic way to do it, and seems like again, in my limited experience, the best approach.
Yeah, it's really cool that they don't shy away from the profit end of it, but then of course it's focused on getting the people in the community who they're assisting to be able to move past the aid that they're providing, which is cool because we usually think about it like as continual like support and help and like holding someone's hand along the way, but where they're really like just kickstarting something that will last forever.
Yeah, it can be self-sufficient, right? And
that's really cool.
Working with local partners too is a big part of that.
So. Yeah, so I would like, from what I've talked to a few people after that episode about different organizations. Some people have more experience in other things. Word Indeed seems to be kind of unique in that they just they focus on the enterprise part of it, and then they don't leave people like. They don't just go in, dump some money and then take off, or dump some money and throw a missionary at it. And, I mean, maybe that's a crass way of saying it, but like that's so their model, the way they think about it is kind of unique, and that they're very, very selective about where they go. He said they won't just take on anything. They were very selective with like the partnerships that they're creating. So
yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, I thought his definition of poverty, which I believe he took from the book When Helping Hurts. Yeah,
I couldn't correct you on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah,
it's possible.
He talked about poverty is a broken relationship between four things. The first being God, second being others, third being self, and fourth being creation.
Yeah,
and I thought that was that's a really good way of describing it, and a useful way of thinking about it, because it's not just obviously material poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it's a cool analysis. Like, of obviously as Christians, we all believe that those relationships were broken in the fall, but you don't often think about them like broken out like that. And yeah, I mean, when you think about like a certain group of people or like your own situation, certain ones of these relationships are say more broken or less broken, or are less. There's less opportunity for reconciliation in some of these areas than there is in others.
Sure.
In certain situations, right? So, and so with I mean, obviously the broken relationship with God is important, that you get the mission work out, but then also with self and with others, and building that whole framework so that it becomes a successful mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, pretty interesting. And then to recognize that like you're not coming at it from a position of strength in all these four things either.
Yeah, the West, right? Like the North America has some strengths, obviously like the material side of things are well here, but yeah, we have a weak relationship with God as a whole, as a society, right?
Yeah.
And then I would even argue others as well. Like, just we're very individualistic. Bang on.
Yeah.
First try, not a big deal. And we don't know our neighbors too well often, and our sense of community overall, again, not so much in maybe our local church community, but in North America overall as a society.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, like
it's going down.
I mean, we didn't even think about digging into this, but I think there's something to that it seems like we always are trying to not compensate, I can't say, but like, yeah, I mean, you don't know your neighbors as well as, say, somebody who's excited about the gospel all the time. Like perhaps in these smaller communities, or like more primitive cultures, they're very like open to dialogue, because they also like are involved in each other's lives with like trade and whatever, right? Sure. Whereas you can live beside somebody and literally not have anything to do with them.
Oh yeah.
And so having the love to share the gospel with them is like, it's hard to just like, I don't know, say love them enough to go and like minister, like, or like preach to them, or basically, or like,
well, it's because we
help
have
them, but it's so easy to be disconnected from people. Like,
we don't, it's because like we don't need each other in the material sense.
Yeah. So you wave at them, across the street, and hey, how's it going? Nice, walking the dog today. Nice, right? It's so much easier just to go inside and, not have to worry about this person's spiritual health.
No, yeah,
right. Exactly. Whereas like, I guess if you're like washing clothes with someone in a river,
yeah,
it's like, I don't know how, like,
making it too primitive.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Although like he was describing some pretty primitive things to us, but
that's true.
You're sitting beside somebody, like you're sharing an experience. You're not just like sharing a driveway,
community meals, stuff like that. Yeah.
So I don't know, like maybe we compensate, or we're very aware of that, and through our mission locally are struggling with that. Like, how do we, even grow that love in ourselves for our neighbors? Like, it's just a tough thing.
Yeah. So point being, pros and cons to each society and each culture and their strengths and weaknesses for sure. And in these four regards.
Yeah. And it was cool to see that like what we may have, we can bring to them, and what they have, they bring to us. And so we didn't really even know that.
I did not know that
they were
people like from Brazil and South America are sending missionaries here to North America.
I thought it was interesting.
Makes sense, honestly.
I actually haven't done any more research on it, but Scott mentioned that like they were saying they were saying it.
Who's they, man?
Scholars,
smart,
wise scholars. Well, he was saying that Africa will be the hub of Christianity.
Yeah,
and not the West, which is interesting because you think of the West being like, I mean, we talked about it with Mike. It was like, this is where Christianity was like, the society was built around.
Founding principles. So Judeo-Christian. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I can definitely see a world where that's the case, because we are pushing so fast, so far away from it so fast that it's like.
So what does that mean for the church here then? I guess it's kind of a bit of a wake up call. And obviously, like, I think as at least I can speak for Canadian Reformed churches, like our churches have been responding to that growing need in North America, in Canada here.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Efforts, again, like what Pastor Ian's doing there in McQuestion with Mercy Church and down in Blessings Church as well. And then also just local churches. BC, I think they're starting a new mission church there too.
But even the local church just being attentive to, I think there's a very conscious attention being given to just a new situation.
Local efforts, evangelism.
And I think it's like, you could see it across all of our churches. So, which is great. But you also hear that like the church in China or something prays for the church of the West, because they see, they might have physical persecution, but we have some kind of subtle persecution or we don't really notice, right? And it's like, we can, you can make light of that pretty easally, because it's like, right, but you're actually suffering, and we're like, we're not really suffering, right?
Well, like the threat of Western liberalism and all the.
But again, it goes back to these four relationships: God, others, self, creation. Like they're seeing a deterioration in our relationship with God, and like just in the culture, but then it like permeating in the church. So definitely something to be attentive to. And I guess we can just keep doing this, because this is how we solving it, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And, just being faithful, praying, reading, all that kind of stuff.
100%.
So I thought that it was a great episode. Honestly, I learned a ton. I think maybe finally just one of the interesting things to come out of that too was just the impact of all the COVID policies in terms of increasing the need around the world for food relief. Yeah, that might not be something we think about in the debate necessarily, how it impacts global supply chains for food and whatnot. So
we like to think about our masks and
like my freedoms, or like my health and safety, depending on where you come down in the debate. And then
it's having real impacts in people's lives that live off of these basically commodities that they are hoping that America buys or Canada buys, and
fundamentals. Definitely. So
no, for sure. So and I think he wrapped up that podcast super good. Like he, the encouragement he had, he was very excited for his work in this new year, and laid out like how we can get involved in Word and Deed and stuff. And I know that a lot of our churches collect for Word and Deed, and I'm sure a lot of people donate to it, and they just do amazing work. So. Yeah. And then also gave people a roadmap to get into it, like how to.
It was cool, for younger people if they want to get into it, and what kind of path they can.
Just a little bit, and I think, that brings to mind. He mentioned that we're all on the front line of mission, so no matter how what kind of schooling you're in, and what your daily work looks like, you're working to the best of your ability to the honor and glory of God's name. You're also on the front line of mission work, and we don't often think send someone away to do mission work, or if it's my calling, I will go do mission work. But we don't think Yeah. It's like an evangelistic mindset. Like
fully
every day when you're talking to people, this is what we have to have in mind.
Everything in Christ. Yeah.
And, I mean, there's just so many areas we can go with that. So
totally. Yeah. And that's actually a good segue too into a couple of our upcoming episodes. We're doing one on apologetics coming up soon.
Yeah.
Maybe you can intro the guest. Actually, you know him better than me.
Yeah. So Jeff Morris is coming on. We'll intro him formally, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Give people a little taste.
So Jeff's just a smart guy, and so he's actually related to me somehow or other, second cousin.
Does that make him a smart guy?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
good blood.
Yeah. He's a prof.
No, he's actually a student now.
But is he not teaching classes there at Tyndale?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's learning at Tyndale. Because he's in software development, software sales and stuff like that. But he's always been interested in apologetics and philosophy and defending the faith, through logic and stuff like that. But also he's just really well thought out. So he spends a lot of time actually thinking about the questions that we would think, we should think about that. So we're gonna have him on.
That'll be fascinating.
Talk a bit about the questions that we had from students at Guido a little bit, and then also about like generally how we approach apologetics and the field of like apologetics more broadly, like more philosophical. Like, is it useful to argue certain ideas or certain avenues with people, or is that like something that's like, you're not going to be able to prove God exists through this logical realm, and
kind of a fool's
should be kind of interesting. So
like,
I don't really know what to. I can't really wrap my head around it right now, but even
whether like you start with like the premise like, okay, God exists, and then we're gonna argue from there, or you go, all right, we're gonna try to appeal to modern man's sensibilities and make the quote unquote rational argument.
Yeah, right. Well, because some people approach it. Yeah, I mean, we're getting into it already, but like some people approach it to be that they'll argue for just a divine being. Because if they can
then you have to
make you agree that there's a divine being, then it's easy to make the leap to God, because God's the only, or the humanly the best explanation we would have for a divine being.
Yeah, the God of the Bible.
Because through the God, through the Bible. So there's all sorts of avenues you can come at this, and it'll be interesting to see, how he'll definitely be able to lay some kind of a lens over it that would be like, oh, okay, this is how we should like, maybe think about this. So
we'll kind of like set the stage for all these different areas of inquiry into apologetics and how you can do it, and then touch on some hot button topics that we got from the students.
And if he listens to this whole intro, he's gonna like correct me on like 10-15 things.
Oh yeah, the first 20 minutes of the podcast, but so you guys got this completely wrong.
So you intro me, back up on that. Yeah. So, but stay tuned for that. That's gonna be great. That'll probably be our next one, and then maybe you want to intro the one after that, even.
Yeah. So
we're gonna start kicking these out more often.
Yeah. So we have a lady. You guys will like this. This is fascinating. So we have a lady who is from Russia, and she's supposed.
That's already fascinating.
That's already fascinating, just in and of itself. Hopefully, barring any sort of like silly lockdown policies, we'll be able to have her in the studio. And she's going to be discussing a paper she wrote. And this isn't just like, a 4-page paper. This is like hundreds of pages.
Yeah, which I got to read yet. So.
Yeah, it's going to take you years. But
glad this is the next one.
Yeah, glad you have a couple weeks still. But this lady took the time to write a very, very big paper on our churches.
Yeah.
Specifically our churches and how we set up educational institutions and systems.
Yeah.
And how we prepare our students for life in what is a diverse and pluralistic Canadian society.
So she didn't come at it, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, because you read it into this a little more, but she doesn't come at it from a religious standpoint, like combating it against something else. She just like was very interested in like the group of people we are as Canadian Reformed people, as like Dutch immigrants.
Her focus was education, and so she again, like I said, took it from the angle of like, what do our schools do, and how do they, like, what kind of students do they produce, and how do those students fit in with the in-group with like the immigrant society,
right? And
then also with the broader society, and how well do they integrate? Because she had looked at like a number of different immigrant groups, and then chose like specifically the Canadian Reformed schools.
Which would be interesting just to ask her
she
why.
Did like 64 interviews, and she talked with people from all over the churches. People left the churches. Like I think it's a really well balanced piece of literature.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but it sounds like it's going to be an interesting, like almost outsider's take on our churches in a very honest and not biased. Like there's no agenda. Like that's what I find. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Like she doesn't have to come to a conclusion, right? And like a lot of times when we approach stuff, we're like, well, like I'd prefer if we came to this conclusion at the end of this. So I'm gonna like go and find something that supports my view. But this is gonna be a very honest conversation. So it's gonna be fun.
It's a really good look at what makes up our churches and all the work, first of all, it took to create these institutions. Yeah. And then by and large, the great job they have done in maintaining our sense of identity as Canadian Reformed Christians. Yeah. And then also, being able to successfully integrate into society and build businesses and build other institutions. And it's going to be fascinating. So
yeah, it's going to be cool.
Definitely tune in for that one, folks. It's going to be good.
She's coming from a ways away to come in studio, hopefully. So
we're from Ottawa, so that'll be good. Anyways, so, we've prattled long enough here, I think, for an episode.
Speaking of not having useful things to say,
kind of proved our point.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So continue to challenge us on our next upcoming episodes.
Yeah,
these two, I'm sure both of these are going to have some things that are maybe not edgy, but definitely some things that we can have conversations about. We already had crazy conversations about apologetics and the different ways to look at that with somebody else. So
that's a good field.
It's going to be tough for us to engage with some of these things, but just, anything, criticism, just advice, all bring it on.
Yep.
All your feedback.
Totally. Looking forward to it, folks. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening. We will catch you next time on Real Talk.
Thanks so much,
folks.
Cheers.